Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You're at the spot, the place, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are at the spot, your favorite location, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're going back to our second home, Australia, and we're going to visit with Julie Entvisl. Julie E. Hell.
You're brilliant. This is
I have
great.
been
Amazing.
struggling with that name, Brains. Entvisl. Okay, Entvisl. And she's been so patient with me, and I appreciate it. She has a very unique skill set that we're going to talk about. Okay. She decodes behaviors, creates connections, and supports nervous systems. I need her right now. Okay. I'm going through a lot. But she also helps busy moms with work life balance and them kids. So sometimes them kids can be unruly. But it's not just the kids being unruly, it is the parents not knowing how to rule properly. Okay, it is a duality, it's a balance there because it's not just the children's responsibility. And we as parents have to learn to listen more, react less. Uh, we're going to talk a little bit about the negotiation and the friendship part of it, but it's an understanding that you are raising and developing. You're cultivating. It's like planting a seed in the earth. You've got to work it. You've got to, make sure that you're there to pluck off all the dead leaves and give it water and give it sunshine. So that's a lot like parenting. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How you doing, Julie E?
I'm amazing. You did well, April. Loving it.
Well, the struggle is real. I'm trying real hard. So thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And tell my brains a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Okay, well, look, it hasn't started with all the bells and whistles and M&Ms and Skittles. So it's all kind of like, you come to this journey because you've been on the journey. So you come to this point in life, and I suppose my journey has been quite fruitful, and it's a lot of a roller coaster ride, like for every human, I suppose. Yeah. So I came to Australia when I was 23, and I've been here for, more than half of my life. So I'm from Russia originally. And it's been a journey and a half, I tell you that much. So I'm a special education teacher. So I'm leading a department in one of the high schools here in Australia, in North Queensland, and loving my work so far. At the same time, I was called upon some kind of like the universal voice, coming from the skies and saying, look, I think you need to share your knowledge and experience, and the life experience in particular, with everybody, because it's no point, sitting on a couch and just marinating in all that knowledge and experience yourself. But also, I think when you want to journey yourself as well, like I'm a mum first and foremost, and that
How many
wasn't
kids do you
always.
have?
I've got two kids, so they're
Okay.
all kind of grown up. So I've got a 16-year-old and a 23-year-old.
And you
But
think that that's grown up? Okay. I got a
growing up,
38 I got a 38-year-old and sometimes she's not all that grown up.
oh no, no, not at all. And you know what? The truth is, we are not growing up either.
Nope. Nope. We're not.
Not at all.
It's a constant evolution, but uh people don't realize that. They think that the magic age is 18 and wham bam boom, they're grown, but they are as immature as they were at 13. It's just a metamorphosis of change. And with you working with children in special ed and special needs, they have special gifts too. Sometimes they mature faster, understand things different, like these children that have autism or ADHD or hyperactive. I think they're just trapped in a different mindset that we don't know how to communicate with. I don't think that they're disabled. I think that they're different. And we as parents have to understand the differences in our children. You have two very different human beings. They live with you, they've grown up with you in the same household, eating the same food, all that, but they're going to be two different independent people. What do you say to parents to try to help them identify or find out their child's identity? Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, yes, their child's identity. Do you know, without actually us knowing we truly are and, addressing our own, um, I suppose, our own parts, we're going to struggle to find, our child's identity or to even help them to find themselves, because how are we supposed to help others if we don't even know so much about ourselves?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the first and foremost thing, that we have to look inwards to
Mm.
then project it outwards. I think, with the kids, and look, Gabor Mate is like my number one, virtual mentor. Like, I've read his books, I'm listening to his podcast, so I like quote him big time. And you know what he said? He said that not your children are growing up in the same household, but they they have different parents because they have different personalities, different tempers, and the way you parent them, it's different. So in a way, they grown up with different parents, even though you are the same, you're kind of the same physical person.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very profound to know that, like, like on my experience, let's just say that, my 23-year-old had a very different mother to what I am now with my 16-year-old. Such a
Mm-hmm.
different mom. And to tell you the truth though, like, because I need to be frank here, with my 23-year-old, I was a reactive mom. I was in survival mode all the time because I was a single mom. I was stuck in survival. I was just trying to make the ends meet. And my 23-year-old struggled so big time. And I struggled as well. And what I didn't realize is that, there was parts of me when he was melting down, when he had hard time, there was parts of me that were coming up to the surface that
Mm-hmm.
were triggered, which was that then now, I'm reflecting on this, which were my unhealed childhood wounds.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that. So when we have the kids testing our boundaries, as we're saying, and by the way, their brains are not developed until they're 27. So
Right.
we are in a, in going to be, talking from, we're talking a very different language here. We're speaking different language. So, we have such a gap there when we as adults expect the kids to speak our language, but actually not realizing that they are at different developmental stage. So
Do you
if
know the
we
problem that comes in I'm sorry, that comes into play there too, is that once you come to that realization that you were a very different mom, that you were more reactive based upon your situation, your learning, your environment, yada yada. Seems like there's a guilt that falls over the parent. It feels like you're always in the apologetic mode. I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry. You know, children, 23, 38, 45. I don't want to say get over it because it is very, very cemented into who you are. Don't get over it, but you better get with it because life is about experiences and you are going to run against some of those challenges head on. They will maybe trigger you. They may release you. They may elevate you and say, you know what? It's like maybe children that grew up with alcoholic parents. I'll never touch a drink in my life because they don't want to relive that. Or you might be with a dismissive parent that didn't care or wasn't there. You don't want that. So we have to understand too, as we get older, that we cannot continue to be guilty or feel shame for what we did. And you have an extra layer of complication because you came from Russia. Russia's very different than Australia. Australia's more westernized, where, and I'm not saying anything bad about Russia because I'm dying to get to St. Petersburg. I really want to go. But the culture is different. The way that your children are educated, the way that they're disciplined, the way that the government rules, the things that the luxuries that they're afforded to, the freedoms that they're afforded to, now, and I'm sure that when you lived there was a lot stricter than it is here. So all of these things are complicated. We need to have that conversation with our children and say, hey, you know what? Don't hold me hostage because of this. Try to understand. There has to be a dialogue there. Now, this 16-year-old has grew up in the Fast and Furious, the westernized world. Maybe you ought to take your 16-year-old and spend, a couple years with grandma and grandpa there in Russia and see what that's like. They need to understand. This is what life is all about.
Mm. Yeah, it's very different. It's very different for sure. And do you know what? Like I do remember, growing up in Russia was the most beautiful time. Like we had like kind of diverting from from the conversation, but it was beautiful because it was organic. It was, it was what actually, had to happen for us to grow up, and it was very family oriented as well. So it was very based around a family. So everything we were doing, it was all about family. Which is I found, I suppose, harder when coming to Australia, is that I didn't have that unit to support me. So
Mm-hmm.
the support wasn't there. And I think it is important to know, to realize that we as parents, we need to be that unit of support for our children, when they need us. And like Gabor Mate book, Hold On to Your Kids, is a brilliant book. I recommend anyone to read it. It's just such an eye opener.
Mm,
And not so much holding to your kids obsessively, but holding in a very empathetic and connection based way.
right. Well, now they are so diluted and desensitized because of the device. You have to
Yeah.
go back to the basics, work ethic. Give your children responsibility. When I came home from school, there was rules. You came in, you took your backpack off, you washed your hands, you did the few little chores you had, you got a snack, you did your homework, then you watched TV. But no, it's from when you wake up in the morning, you turn on the device. On the school bus, you turn on the device. When you are in the classroom, you're sneaking on the device. Parents have allowed this disconnect, I believe. They want to give their children freedom. They want to be your friend. Well, I'm from the old school. I'm friendly, but I ain't your friend. I'm your parent. Okay. And children really do want discipline. Now, again, I'm not talking about corporal punishment, but they want some sort of structure. They want to say, hey, you know what? When I'm dealing with Mama Julia, the buck stops here. We're not going to talk crazy to her and roll our eyes and suck our teeth and slam the door. And all. We're not going to do that because we know that she's not going to tolerate this. There has to be somebody in their life that, I don't want to say fear, but have an utmost responsibility. Um, and how we discipline our children. You know, I'm a mind twister. I think and yes, I did spank my child maybe twice in her life, but it was to the point where I was at the wit's end. Do I feel guilty about it? Yeah, sure I do. Does she still talk about it? Yeah, she's still traumatized. It's not like I hit her with a belt or anything like that, but I tightened her up. But um, I would rather that I had done it than the law do it. I'd rather for her to understand that this is not something that's comfortable and familiar before she gets into a dysfunctional relationship with a man and they do it. I want her to understand that there's consequences for your actions. I want us to be able to have that conversation afterwards, and I apologize for anything I've done, but also you apologize for what you've done and take some responsibility for your actions. There's none of that now. oh, I'm the victim. Oh, poor me. Oh, it's again, like you said, generational trauma. Well, that was 2 generations ago. Grandma, grandpa, they did a whole lot of things that we're not doing right now. Where are we right now? And what are you seeing in the schools, and what are you seeing with young adults?
So it's interesting you said, discipline. So I always go back to the Latin word, roots of those, of those words. And discipline actually means teaching.
Mm,
So, because I think discipline has, especially of late, it's kind of became, you need to discipline him. But what does discipline look like? It's
mhm.
actually teaching. So you're teaching your kids to become respectful adults. But how do we do that? We don't just say it, because the kids don't just listen to your words. They actually soak up your behaviors, your energetic being, to to project that outwards. So you are the primary adult who they model that from. So if you're not modeling respect yourself, if you're not modeling the device usage yourself, there is no point talking about it, because you're just going to be losing your temper and you're going to be triggered again and again and again. You just need to go back and reflect within yourself, saying, am I using that phone right? Am I showing up for my children the way I want to be? I want someone to show up for me. So am I using the phone too much? Well, maybe I am. Then that means that, don't punish the kids, discipline them how to use your phone properly. Say, hey, I understand. I realize I have been using my phone so much, and I apologize for that. So the repair is so important, because once you start admitting to what you are doing not so right, you gain that respect from your children. You develop that connection, and they see that you're a human being. You are using your phone sometimes, and you're probably overusing your phone sometimes, and you sometimes swear, and you sometimes lose your shit, and but the repair is like, going, okay, well, I lost my cool just then, and that was not okay. So how can we go back and repair? I'm so sorry that I raised my voice.
Mhm.
How can we repair now? Can we give each other a hug? Can we just watch a movie and eat ice cream or something? It's so important to be modeling and be living and embodying to what you're actually preaching. No point talking about this. You have
Right.
to live it.
Yeah, and the same thing is like if you're using your phone too much, okay, look, I'll put mine down, you put yours down. Between this time and this time, no phone time. This is
Yeah.
communication time. I was in a car with these 2 young women. Ooh, I was hot. They were just texting, 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 texting. And I said, well, let's talk. We don't have anything to talk about. Well, your thumbs is talking to somebody. They were talking to each other, but not to me. I said, okay, now phones off. Put them in the glove compartment. They were angry. Well, you can get angry, but I wanted some communication. I wanted some dialogue. You have to understand that. The disrespect is unbelievable. And the shielding of children from the truth. You're in a household, there's discord between the mother and the father. Oh, we don't want to tell the children. You don't think the children hear everything that's going on? They hear more so because when dad's not there, they hear what mom's saying. When mom's not there, they hear what dad's saying. These are human beings. Talk to them in the language that they understand. Talk to children at an early age. My opinion. They're little people. They're little people. And you can speak to them in their language. You don't have to tell them every nano detail, but there's something that's going on. Mommy and daddy are having some challenges right now. We're trying to work through it. Please forgive us if anything is, hurtful to you, or you feel that there's something that we know. Please come to me. Have that door open. Because once they open the outside door to the world, they're influenced by the world. And that's very, very dangerous. So when you say you decode behaviors, what does that mean?
So the work is around. So there's a kind of multifaceted all these different levels of what I do, on what I can do. So in the children, so I work with moms. So we work say that if they have a neurodivergent child, for example, the child who might have ADHD. So that's very dopamine dependent diagnosis. And that's a different wiring we're talking about. So we kind of have to approach that from the point of view from the like the I call it ABC framework. So
Mhm.
A stands for antecedent, behavior, B for behavior, and C for consequence. So that's how I kind of use that framework to decode the behavior. And so that doesn't just come in isolation just for that child. There's a problem with that child. There's no problem with that child. No one needs to be fixed. There is no bad or good emotions or bad and good feelings. There are heavy and light ones.
Mhm.
Okay, so there is, I need to make that also clear because people think this is bad to say that. Well, actually, if you like the good example of inside out movies, anger
Mhm.
has to be there. It's got to be acknowledged. Joy has to be there, has to be acknowledged. And sadness has to be there and has to be acknowledged. So when we go back into decoding the behavior, we're looking at the A. So what's happening before the behavior? Was there an interaction with a parent? Was there interaction with a dad or somebody, the human being in a family? Was there a food has been consumed that perhaps could potentially be a trigger point? Was there, a day before, maybe the child is exhausted, maybe the child is, primary needs are not met. So is he hungry? Is he angry? Is he lonely? Is he tired? So can we go through that framework as well? And so once we track that part, we understand the holistic view of the child, what is actually happening. I like doing, gathering the child's voice and parent voice in that instance because I want to know what the child is interested in. I don't want to know what the child is struggling with. It's just not going to work. So, you and I, for example, if we're going to focus on our weaknesses, there is no way I can do Excel like somebody else and,
Mhm.
does Excel. That's not my
Right.
interest area. I will be focusing on something that I'm interested and passionate about. That's how I'm going to excel. And that's the same goes for the children. If we're going to focus on the weaknesses only, we're going to create havoc. So we need
Mhm.
to focus on the strength, on the child's voice. And one more thing, like interesting, you said, the developmental stages. uh, you know, the adults, for example, I used to have problems with saying no to people pleaser, all of that. When I dug deeper into it, I realized that when I was, from the age about, 1 year to 7 year to 1 year to 7 years, there's a crucial developmental stages where the child is actually developing authority and saying no. So if in that stage, his immediate environment was telling that child that's naughty to say no, so that his primary needs were not met, then we have an adult who is a people pleaser and having struggled to saying no to people. And that's what we need to do. We need to go back and see what was happening during that time because we don't want to create people pleasers, do we?
We don't, but again, no is a complete sentence. No. And I get that. But that's what we tell them all the time. No, don't do this. No, don't do that. No, don't do. I get it. But then if we were always yes, there'd be a problem with that too. Finding the balance, but listening to what we say and thinking about what we say before we say it.
Mm,
And that takes an extra layer of work. But you signed up to be a parent. You signed up to be a guide, a facilitator, a lover, a nurturer, a supplier, a friend, a coach, a teacher. You signed up for all of that when you had kids. And then, you got two, three, four of them. I don't know how people did it. I did it one time and it was absolutely beautiful. She's beautiful to this day, but I said this shit is overrated. I'm not gonna lie to you. To have three or four of them, my grandmother had nine. I don't even know the pecking order of how to get them to do things. she had law and order. The house was clean. Everybody knew their assignment, all that. But I couldn't. I could have. I chose not to. Creating the connection. What do you mean by creating the connection?
Connection. Well, what is connection to a human being? Like we're wired for connection, right? The humans are wired for connection. Like there is no, we cannot possibly survive without connection with other humans, right?
Mhm.
So, how do we create that connection with our kids, with our loved ones? It's the same thing. Like, going back to the word no. Well, we want to know, like if someone tells us no, we want to know why.
Right.
So, we want to know why. Well, why is that? So the same goes with children. No, I want to know, I want you to know this. So this is the reason why it's unsafe. It's, we can fall and hurt ourselves, whatever it is. But to create a connection between two adults, what does it look like, in real life? What do we actually do? What do we do? And this is goes for the children. So before I find a lot of adults tend to forget how it is to transfer what they do with children onto their own experience. And that's when we create that empathy and understanding
Mhm.
towards the kids, is that, hang on, in a classroom environment, for example, we go, right, you have to sit in a certain spot, you have to do certain thing. Do we sit in a certain spot and do a certain thing like in our real life? Like, no, we choose our spot, we choose our parking spot, we choose our people to connect with. And the reason why how do we connect with our kids is we need to make sure that they feel heard, seen, and understood.
Okay. That makes
Three
sense.
pillars, three pillars. And that's the same goes for the adults. Every adult wants to be seen, heard, and understood, don't we?
Right. But what are they seeing? What are they hearing? And what are they understanding? That is the
Exactly.
key thing. That's the pivotal thing. So that goes back to what you said, is decoding the behaviors. What are we looking at? What is it that you're exuding? What is the example that you're showing your children?
Mm,
Are you
mm.
showing them, hard work, discipline? Are you showing them love, compassion? Are you showing anger, hostility, drug abuse, sexual promiscuity, avoidance? What are you showing them? Because they're a mirror reflection. I know I tell this story all the time. I was in the Walmart here, and the young woman had her baby in the basket, and he was taking stuff and throwing it in the basket, whatever. And she went off on him like a hot potato. She cursed him and told him, don't do this and don't do that, to the point where I just started to shiver. And I turned around and I asked God, I said, protect me on this one. I said, baby, I said, I'm out of line and I'll accept that right now. I said, but please don't talk to him like that. Please don't cuss at him and talk to him like that. You're talking to him like he's a 45-year-old man, and he's doing what kids do. And I know that you're struggling, and I know that it's tough, and you probably can't afford everything that he's putting in the basket. I said, but to call him little MF and sit your ass down and all that kind of stuff. I said, is what is that going to do? All that's going to do is make a dysfunctional adult. He's going to go to school. He's going to bully somebody. If he can't get his way, he's going to rob somebody, put a gun on him, go to jail. I said, you're creating, chaos. I said, can you try another form of discipline? Sometimes just silence. Maybe just take it out of the aisle, or make him put it back, but come up with a different strategy. We stood there and we talked for like 2 or 3 minutes, and she did not go off on me. I thought she was gonna cuss me like she cussed him. And she said at the end, she said, thank you. She says, because nobody's ever kind of pulled my coattail on that. And the little boy looked, he's about 7. He looked at me with tears in his eyes, like somebody just saved me, you know. So words are powerful. They are more powerful. I could only imagine when she really got wound up and probably went home and disciplined him with a belt or whatever, and shaming children in schools. You used to have to write standards, or stand in the corner, or put the dunce hat on, or be separated from. No, Now, what they're trying to do here, and which I find is beautiful, is more mindfulness. The Chinese do it all the time. They teach you about humanity and um, camaraderie and cleanliness and cooking and community before they teach you your ABCs and one, two, threes, because that's what it's about. It's about being a whole human being. It's about supporting the nervous system. Tell us how you do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, um, the nervous system. So it's a lot of work is now been happening around. A lot of people talk about nervous system. It's very trendy nowadays, talk about somatic healing and nervous system regulation, all of that stuff. So, uh, it's in the child, like on the child's level, what when we're talking about the nervous system, we act as a primary source of that nervous system for the children. So if we think about it, have a visualization of a sponge. So your child is a sponge, and you are the water that child is absorbing into that sponge. So whatever your cylinder is filled with, that child is going to absorb. So your nervous system is going to become their nervous system. So you have to be so aware. And I know, look, we talk about a lot about, the what parents should be doing and all that. I know this is so freaking hard. I know it's not easy. I've been there, as a single parent with the two kids, raising them by myself, working full time, and trying to juggle all the different balls in the air, and dealing with health concerns, etc. I know how hard that is. But if we think about, developing functional adults, when they do leave home, we want to make sure that it's on the forefront of our minds. So our nervous system is the primary source of our children's nervous system, and how we regulate ourselves is going to then inform how the kids are regulating themselves in the future. So that's the thing. But when you have the layer of ADHD and ASD, that's different. That's different layer again altogether. So we need to we will need to unpack that a little bit in more detail, because that's comes with a little bit more extra complexities. So, but
A
in
little bit
the
more, that's a lot more. And
a
no, and
lot
the
more,
reason,
that's
yeah,
right.
it's a lot more. It's okay. You're a single parent. You're doing that, and you have two different personalities. One child may feel that there's a deficiency. You know, why is Kim always getting all the attention? You're always doing this. You're always doing that. I was watching a program, and the mother said, "Oh, what do you want for dinner?" She's talking to the older child. So, what do you want for dinner? He says, "I want tacos." And then the child that had a little bit of a challenge came up, and she just, "Oh, what do you want, sweetie?" And she says, "Well, it's spaghetti." Okay, well, forget the tacos. We're gonna have spaghetti. It's hard because, again, you want to please, you want to make everyone happy, but unconsciously you don't realize how this is impacting the other person in relationships with men and women. There's a lot of situations where one spouse is saying, "You know what? I'm out. I can't deal with this. I don't understand it. It's overwhelming. I'm not getting my needs met. I can't communicate with my spouse. She don't want to do no boom boom because she's tired." you know, uh, and I get it. I get it. And so they're saying, "You know what? I need to free myself. It's not right. I'm not saying that it's right, but mothers also have to understand that you have to learn to delegate, even if that child has a challenge. They have greater gifts and they know how to do something. Teach them how to wash the clothes, teach them how to cut the grass, give them something where they can pour that energy into. Don't let them be in victim mode and always feeling sorry for them, and you have to do every single thing for them because you're handicapping them. You're handicapping them. How do you work with mothers to create a work life balance? Because sometimes, again, you need a break from all of that. I can't do that. I told you I only have one kid now. I can't do it
Hmm.
all the time. I want some time for me. I want to go to the spa. My daughter says she's not having no kids. I'm going to be a grand muppy. She's getting a puppy. Well, because she's selfish with her time. If you realize that's your characteristic, And sometimes it's after the fact you realize, maybe maybe I overthought this a little bit. How do we create that balance?
Yeah, yeah. When people figure that out, they can tell me as well
Mm,
how to create that balance. So I think uh I'm going to quote Matthew Hussey here. So I don't know if you guys know, but if you know April Matthew Hussey,
no.
he's written a book, Love Life, I think it is called, and he's got this good example on the self-love, and I think it's a great example. So he said, imagine you have been given, so once you've done all your developmental stages and everything, so you turned 17, 18, whatever, and so you're ready to leave home. And then imagine that's the time when you have to look after yourself, basically. So imagine if at that time, at that pivotal time when you have to leave home, you have been given a little human to take care of. And that little human is you.
Mm,
So he's saying that self-love is not just that sugar-coated self-love, the spa baths and all that kind of stuff. It's actually the hardcore, let's look after me. So
mm,
what do I need? What do I need? What are my primary needs? So you have to get in tune with yourself. What is actually going to, give you that time away from whatever it is, if it's even if it's like 2 minutes of breathing time. If it's like, I know some moms will say that I don't have the time at all. Well, if we have a look and stock take our time, chances are we're going to have a look if we spend too much on the phone doom scrolling. So maybe that time can be put towards your, a little meditation or going to the shops if that makes you happy, breathing for a little bit, chat to your friends if that makes you happy. Whatever, if you are looking after your little human, which is you, what does that little human need? What are those primary needs, that little human needs? Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing. You need to think about self-love in that way rather than a cheesy way.
right. And it's not selfish.
No.
You owe that to yourself because if you can't replenish, you're of no use or any good to anyone. You're always on angst. You're always angry. You're always exhausted. You don't always have to do that because time is really an illusion,
Oh, big time.
you know?
Absolutely.
And so you can make the time. Trust me, you can make the time. Find a support group. Uh, take your child to the grandparents. Take your child to a play date. But you have to find that time to separate yourself and renew and nourish yourself. You owe that to yourself. You really do. Because if you're on angst all the time, you are a miserable person. You're
Mm.
a miserable person. And it's hard being a single parent. You got to be chief, cook, bottle washer, disciplinarian, friend, all of that. Work on relationships if you can to co parent. That takes a maturity level. It really
Mm.
does. And it's hard. You got to sacrifice. Okay, he's got another girlfriend. So what? If she's being kind to your child and your child likes them and you're not having any problem, let them go over there. Don't try to control the situation. If the situation is not conducive, I get that. But try to find a neutral ground because a child needs both parents if that's possible. And again, everybody's situation is different. I have stepchildren and I'm the dearest friends with my stepson's mother. I had to put on my big girl panties for that. No, I didn't like the fact that, we shared the same man and all that, but it wasn't about that. The son absolutely adores me, and I adore him for the individual person that he is and what he brings to the table, not what his mother brings. When he comes over, he's not bringing her with me. But when we have a conversation, it's cordial. We laugh, we have a good time, we can share funny stories. There is a maturity level that comes into that, and it's not easy. It is not easy. You may not be the best friends, but at least you could be civil. And it takes so much pressure off of you. It really does. You don't have to worry about it. You'll be saying, oh my God, he's going to his father's house. And that stepmother over there, oh, she gonna be good to him. Girl, I can go out to the movies and go out with my girlfriends. You never know how that could be. So give up some of the control. I know I had a deep meditation one time and God told me to surrender. I looked up at the sky. I was like, you trying to tell this Leo to surrender? That's not what we do. We fight to the death. But when I let it go, he didn't say give up. He didn't say give in. He just said, let go. I got this. And I tell you, Julia, it was such a relief. And it was so easy. We don't have to control every single thing. That's the problem with women, I think, is that we're a control freak. We could be in an Uber and we still want to drive the car. You don't have to do that. You're causing a lot of additional stress. And when you realize that, take a pencil and a piece of paper, write down your feelings. Go back 5 or 10 minutes later and see if you're still feeling the same thing. Do some sensory therapy. Just lay your hand on your face and just say, oh, I've got the same emotion. I've got the same feeling. It's here. It's bothering me. It is so comforting. Take a few deep breaths. I always do that with my guests before they come on the show. I want to connect with you. I want to feel your energy. I want to breathe with you. I want to inhale what you're feeling. I want to find some neutral ground. So I think that you do an amazing job at what you do. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
with us. Thank you for being selfless because, again, you have 2 children, you're a single parent, but every day you go into a classroom and work with a minimum of 10 other people's children that have all these different challenges, all these different personalities, and their parents. So I give you your flowers here and today. But I want to ask you some fun questions about you. Okay?
Yep.
What's your superpower, Julia?
Oh, my superpower. I think my positive mindset is my superpower, but it also could be a little bit of um a tricky thing because that kind of protects me from, from that control you talked about. So I think positive mindset, that, you know, um loving life thing to that fullest, that's what I really think that's my superpower.
Gratitude. Gratitude.
And
Absolutely.
gratitude, lots of gratitude. Every single morning I wake up and I say thank you so much for, universe, God, whatever you guys believe in, and for just being me being here and take the first breath in the morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
Ooh. There's a Russian flower called Do Not Forget Me, I think it is. It's like a little wildflower, blue with a bit of yellow inside. It's gorgeous looking thing. So I think it's just in the simplest forms, that's my flower. Yeah.
That's your flower. That's how you bloom. If you were to time travel, go back to the past, remain here in the present, project to the future, where would you land?
Where would I land? I think I'll go back into, as an observer, I will go back into my country, to my childhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great lead in. If I were to meet you in St. Petersburg or wherever your city of origin was there in Russia, where would you take me and what would we do?
Oh my God, let's go to St. Petersburg, April. That'll be amazing. I'll show you around. I'm not from there, but that's my favorite city in Russia. That is the most gorgeous city and full of the country is full of history and architecture is amazing. So, the ballet, the opera houses and the churches and art galleries, all of those places I cannot miss.
How's the food?
The food is incredible. There's so much
Yeah.
variety and there's so much comfort food as well. There's so much variety. I miss the food. I miss the food.
What is the biggest misnomer that Westerners have of Russia?
You're opening a can of worms there, April, right? So Russians tend to be from the Hollywood movies all evil, right? So here I am, the evil Russia, the evil Russian. Um, Look, it's such a misconception, can I tell you? And I know that, the Russian people will say the same thing, and it's not the cheesy thing of saying this, is because please have your own mind, analyzing things rather than trusting the media. Because every country has its own quirks and
Oh
own
gosh.
culture and
Oh God.
languages and histories. And I think we would be such a better nation if we had the knowledge of history, the profound knowledge of the history of different countries. We would be so much more empathetic towards different nations.
Well, the thing of it is I've been to a few communist countries, and brains, let me tell you, it's law and order. No problem. It's clean. People are not disrespectful. Uh, you follow the rules. This is one rule. While I was in China, and we're driving with the driver, and when they bump the horn, they wave at you. And I asked the driver, I said, what is that all about? I said, you bump the horn here in the United States and they're going to run you down and cuss your mother and everything else. He says, because you have avoided a conflict, that you did not hit them, that you acknowledged that they were in your way or they weren't paying attention or whatever, and they appreciate that. I thought that was the sweetest thing ever. Why else would they put the horn in the car unless they wanted to acknowledge you? So now when people blow the horn at me, I smile and wave. I know they think I'm crazy, but I appreciate the fact that they said, hey, you've merged in my lane or something's happened. So I get that. Um, and also, there's only maybe 40% of Americans that even have a passport. They have never traveled outside of their comfort zone. So they're speaking from a place of ignorance. Ignorance is not stupidity. Ignorance is just not knowing.
Mm.
And until you know better, you cannot do better. So I'm with you. I say, you know what? Give it a chance. I'm excited about going. I love it. When I travel, I go as a traveler. Okay. I go to immerse myself in the culture. I don't pack my American. It's please and thank you. I am the guest in someone else's home. And when you do that, I'm telling you, people are just so warm and inviting, and it's wonderful. Now, if you were an appliance in the kitchen, Julia, what appliance would you be?
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, what a definitely not the fridge. No, I'm not cold.
Hmm.
Um, I got rid of my microwave because it's too much, you know, the bad stuff, the radiation. I believe that anyway.
Okay.
So I've got my air fryer, which is again a different kind of air fryer, the Ninja one. And I think I would be an air fryer, nice and steady, calm, not in a hurry to hit the food, just regulated and
Hmm.
compassionate and warm.
Easy to clean. Everything is crispy when it comes out.
Yes.
I love it. Cooks quick. You know what I'd be? I'd be a high-end garbage can. Have you seen the
Okay.
high-end garbage cans?
No.
Oh, honey, they compost everything for you. They desanitize everything. But I want to be the place where you dispose of the things that no longer serve you. I want to
Mm.
be the place where you can recycle. I want to be the place that you take out often and regularly. I want to be the place that you take great care in keeping me clean and smelling good. I think I'd be a high-end garbage can.
That
Yeah.
is beautiful. I have
Oh,
to adopt that.
well, go right ahead, but go get girl, Google it, look at them. It does everything but talk to you, and with AI, it'll probably talk to you too now. Um, if you could rewrite one thing in your own personal history, if you could make corrective action, and you're going to be vulnerable here, what would you do?
I would go back and um reconnect with my eldest son in
Okay.
the ways that I would do it now. Like with the tools and the language I have right now, with the regulated nervous system I have right now, I would go back and do it all over again. And I would just be thrilled to do it.
Okay, now you're being honest there. Do you feel still some guilt there?
There was not just at the moment, I think there's guilt, but there was shame. So shame is when we don't want to talk about this, whereas now I'm out of the shame cycle and into going a little bit of a regret, but at the same time, that experience taught me so, so much.
It elevated to
And
the next level. How is he responding to it? Do you feel, I mean, and not putting him on the spot, but, do you feel that it really impacted him to the point where he'll carry it to the next generation? Or do you think that you've had enough learning and discipline and conversations that he's come to terms with it?
I hope he would come to terms with it. He hasn't yet. That's just that's just reality. And again, he's 23, so his brain is still developing. So I'm giving him that chance to kind of like, be his own person and make his own decisions and make his own evaluations himself. So I'm here to support him and love him, and it's always unconditional, isn't it? There's no conditions attached to it.
Oh,
It's
there's
just
conditions. I tell people that's where I pump the brakes. There's conditions on my love. You damn right. I can't do unconditional love. I don't believe in it.
really.
No, I don't. There and I don't mean that. I tolerate you. I respect you. But there's a limit and there's a boundary, and sometimes those boundaries are crossed, and sometimes they're unforgivable. Sometimes they're
Mm,
very harsh. Sometimes it's the intention. People know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing most of the time. So to continue to say that you know, uh, I have unconditional love for you, that's disingenuous to me. That's not authentic to me. Now I'm not picking every single person and saying, oh, well, I got conditions on you. But when it gets to a certain point, I'm like a spigot, baby. I turn it off
yeah,
because
right. Yeah.
because what happens, it turns me into a different person. You see what I'm saying? It makes me that people pleaser. It makes me lower my standards. It makes me conform to you instead of finding equal ground for the both of us. That's just my take on it, and I'm 10 toes down on it.
I fully respect your opinion. I hear what you're saying.
And it's
I
hard.
think it, yeah, I think it depends. I suppose, we still, as our children, we still love them no matter what. We don't stop loving them as children, as our biological children, so to speak. So I think that's what kind of like
But I don't
socially,
know. I mean, you look at this Rob Reiner situation here, that actor, him and his wife did everything they could for their son and his mental health challenges. He had a
mm,
big blowout with them the night before. What does he do? He's staying in their guest house. He sneaks in the house and slits their throats, both of them. See, there would have been some conditions on it. It's like, okay, I love you, but you got to go live somewhere else. Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be a point. You know, my God said, "Be good." He didn't say, "Be a damn fool." And again, once they cross that threshold, they belong to the world, and things are different. And if it's for the greater good, for their safety, for my safety, for their sanity, my sanity, sometimes to be estranged, we don't have to feel bad about that. We can feel relieved that they have found another way and I found another way, and we can hope and pray that we come together and unify. But I don't have to go to sleep every night saying, I feel bad because of this, that, and the other. All of us have been given free will. We came here singularly, individually. We have a soul contract when we came to here that we signed. This is our purpose. This is our journey. This is our self-discovery. And again, I'm not judging you or your son or or me or my stepson or whatever the situation is. I'm not judging any of that, but it is what it is. And so we have to be careful with that. It's a safety thing. It's a boundary. It's a boundary.
Mm,
So
absolutely.
anyway, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Ooh, I love strawberry. Or any
Mm,
fruit flavor, actually. Mango, strawberry, yeah, any fruit flavor.
okay, yeah, I like strawberry ice cream too. And in closing, what do you want your legacy to be, Julia? How do you want us to always remember you?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I really want to just be remembered as, I think the kindness and the warmth and the just the authenticity of what I speak to and how I help people and that I'm the authentic to what I'm saying. So I think authenticity, integrity, and kindness, I think the most ones.
Well, I think I think that you're a lot more than that. I think that you're helpful. I think that you're selfless. I think that you're compassionate, um, and that you care. You care, and
Thank you.
that's all that you can do with any situation. You know, is to try to care. And that's what I try to do when I'm caring about you, brains here on the edge. Julia, excuse me. Excuse me. So, Julia, please tell my brains how they can get in contact with you. I'd love for them to do the deep dive, um, to connect with you on a deeper level.
I'm the message away on the Facebook. So my Facebook is Julia Entvisl, Entvisl. That's my last name, a bit tricky one. And I'm on Instagram. Instagram is Julia at Behind the Behaviour. You can find me there. I'm also on YouTube. It's the same kind of content, but different platforms. So Julia Entvisl once again. And I think that's probably it. And Facebook page Behind the Behavior. So there's all kind of different platforms with the same kind of content. So it depends what people really would like. I also have the email Julia at behindthebehavior.com.au, and people can reach me like that. But yeah, DM, Messenger, you and I communicate via Messenger. It works really well. So anytime, yeah, I'm there.
Well, brains, I want you to reach out. No, first, what I want you to do is reach inside and see if this is something that's really sincere to you that you want to do, because you have to do it. We can give you the pixie dust all day long, but if you don't sprinkle it in the right place, it's not going to do anything. You have to want to build these relationships. You have to want to do the deep dive and take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't exude this into your world. You can't pour this into your children. You can't recognize. You can't take accept responsibility. But taking responsibility is twofold in a relationship, and it's understanding and it's compassion. Stuff happens. That's just how we learn. That's how we grow. We get better. Allow me to make corrective action. Allow me to explore what it is. Allow me to understand what it is to not have conditional or to have conditional love. Let me explain to you why I feel the way that I feel. There's nothing wrong with feeling your feelings. When we suppress those feelings is when we run into the problems, because we're masking, we're lying, and we're shaming. You can't get over the hump that way. But you can get over the hump this way. Go in and love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe. We're on all the major hotspots all over the planet. I don't do TikTok because I need more than 30 seconds. And I don't do X because it gives me heartburn. But other than that, I am there for you 110%. I love you so much. I love you, Julia, just for being the person that you are. And you know what? I'm going to Russia, but maybe you can go with me.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. All right, brains. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.